Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video of ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Žiga Polenar, and this is Ian's shitty AK. We're actually here in Slovenia. It's 2 days after Lynx Brutality, and Ian unironically competed with this rifle. And you actually did quite well.
I did. I was shocked by how well I did. In fact, I was only one place behind you.
True.
You were 11th in the match, and I was 12th.
I was kind of having fun. I didn't compete for score, but it doesn't matter. Look.
Well, I definitely wasn't trying either then. So I thought it would actually be interesting to get your take on a Eastern, like an older style Eastern Bloc AK with an older style optic in it. Like this is sort of a meat and potatoes AK without any of the modern commercial updates. I thought it'd be fun to run this because it is classic AK. It's a Romanian parts kit with a Nodak Spud receiver that I riveted together myself.
I can see that.
Oh yeah.
I think we'll do some B-roll. You can definitely see the handiwork that Ian did.
Oh yeah.
But it works.
It does.
It works.
It does. The lower handguard's Chinese because I lost the original handguard somewhere. I don't even know where. So I just stuck on a generic handguard. There's some Romanian dude's name, or maybe girlfriend's name, I'm not sure, carved in the bottom of the stock. Came that way in the kit. But I was able to use this for shooting in Lynx Brutality. You know, it's funny, one of the adages of the two-gun match that Brutality grew out of was that it is intended, every match, the stages are supposed to be able to be finished, not won, but finished, with a stock iron-sighted AK and a Glock 17. And so this kind of carries on that same tradition. Now it's not iron-sighted, I did put this red dot on it.
Well, first, unironically, I love the look of it. It's, I don't know, it just like, kind of looks trashy, but also super cool. I love the distressed wood with the original carving. This is Bakelite, right?
Yep.
That's amazing. It feels well. The Chinese kind of, that's...
It is painted black
painted,
at some point by somebody.
But it's slim, it works, you get a good grip on it. And this is an actual distressed look. Like this was probably dragged over the field and rocks. It's not like fake distressed look, so yeah. It's legit.
It's totally honest wear on that thing.
Okay, we also know that it shoots straight because you were quite good on some of the stages where I thought that you will struggle with this.
By some miracle, yes.
Well, it zeroed, even if it's like 3-4 MOA, you're still on target. And this red dot, this is a red dot, not magnified. It's way overbuilt, but you have a very small window, but you can see the dot. And it just keeps zero, and you press the trigger, and if you do your job right, this will work.
So the dot is a PK-A. I'm pretty sure it's a Belarusian one.
Probably. I don't know why, but a lot of these, I think this is not original. This is like a later variation or copy or a reproduction.
Well, it's not a reproduction. It is original, but it is an export model because the on-off marking is in English.
Yeah. But I don't know why, but Belarusians make these, like a lot of variations.
Yeah.
Even like the copies of the PSO optics and so on.
Right.
So, okay, the rifle shot relatively okay. You did your job right. You had problems with mounting a suppressor on this one, right?
Yes. So the idea was we were going to get a flash hider that used a 14x1 left-hand thread, which is what this is. It's a thread protector. It doesn't need to be tight.
Yeah.
Which is good because it's not. And then when I went to put the muzzle device on, it was wobbly all the way down until it hit the front sight block. And I tightened it, I cranked it hard down on the front sight block and then screwed on the suppressor. And I was getting, not quite baffle strikes, but I was getting wipes.
Yep.
So at about 100 yards, I was probably 6 or 7 feet off to the right. And when we looked at the suppressor, there's a brass skid mark on the left side of the can where bullets are just scraping against it and getting pushed off. So suppressors were not quite required, but highly recommended for Lynx Brutality. I was going to use one, but when we had that result, I ditched the thing because it just wasn't feasible.
There's one thing with AKs. A lot of people think that most of AKs do not have concentric threads, but they actually do. They're more common issue. One is, with yours, you have very loose threads, I don't know, like if they're so used or they were maybe, they were kind of corroded in the past and they were like retreaded. But the thing is that suppressor or a muzzle device has to sit on something.
Right.
And the issue is if that's something like the end of the muzzle or usually most commonly a front sight, if it's not completely parallel and like has a right angle to it, when you will tighten the muzzle device, the certain part of the front sight will push it off center. That creates an issue for AKs.
Yeah. And this front surface was never intended to be a mounting surface, so it's kind of luck of the draw if it's parallel or not.
True. But otherwise, okay, that was one issue. So you were not able to use the suppressor. Then you had a second issue. You had something wrong with the screws. This is a part of a mount
Yes.
for the optic.
Yep. So you're familiar with these. This is a master mount, which is intended for AKs that don't have side rails.
Can we remove the optic?
Yeah.
How?
There we go. So it's a side rail mount, red dot. And then that is our AK master mount. The idea is it's a rail that attaches by replacing the trigger and hammer pins with screwed in, essentially two-part screw-in screws that locate the rail, and lock it in place. The problem is when I put it in, like an idiot, I didn't Loctite these screws. So they were starting to come loose, and when I was checking zero on the gun, I noticed that the optic was starting to wobble. So in between stages, I was tightening these down. However, they are also the fire control pins. And about halfway into our first day, I noticed that the trigger was not always resetting. I could push it forward with my trigger finger, but it would sometimes stick rearward after firing. And I suspected that I had actually over-tightened the trigger pin and I was starting to bind the trigger. Now, later on, I'm not so sure of that. Like, later on in the match, on the second day, I was tinkering with it and I loosened this up and the trigger kept binding, so I don't know if I put a burr on something in there. When we took it apart today after the match, everything seems fine. Until the one time the trigger almost ended up coming out.
Yeah, but then that pin was quite loose.
Yeah, that's true.
But either way, okay, so yeah, it has some problems, and regardless of what kind of AK it is, if you assemble it or it was stock, when you start changing things, a lot of things can go wrong, specifically with AKs because they are not really standardized. Yeah. You know, like there's so much variation between models, and even just like quality control between parts. You know, I wouldn't say that two parts are not the same. But yeah, for what it is, like it ran really, really good.
It did, I will say, other than the trigger reset, it was flawlessly reliable. I didn't have any malfunctions during the match at all. I brought some of my best magazines.
I see.
With some rust
is this
on
a Chinese one?
Like
I can bend it with my.
To be honest, I'm not sure whose that is.
Yeah. So this is.
It might be. This is one that's got the riveted on front catch, and off the top of my head, I don't remember who did that. We've got one of my other mags down there that has the milled front catch. So you can see the difference here. Much less obvious giant spot welds. Mm-hmm. So they're two different, but I don't remember what nationality they are.
This one is definitely shittier. No, you can feel it, like this is proper steel where you cannot bend it in. This one you can.
Oh yeah, you're right. This is definitely thicker.
I would say this, like from my experience, this is like some kind of Chinese.
It could well be.
They make really, but look, it worked. Now we did some quick reload videos here before we started with this one, and just by quickly reloading and dropping the empty mags on the concrete floor here, we kind of damaged both of them a bit.
Yeah, yeah. AK mags are not, in fact, completely indestructible. They are very destructible.
That's a good way of putting it. But I mostly use Źiga AK mags, and those are really overbuilt, also heavier than this one. And Magpool Gen 3s, also good.
Okay.
And of course the backlights, yeah. So, yeah, very nice. I think you thought that I would hate this rifle, or that like we could. I could talk shit about it, like especially the rivets. They're terrible. Like I think Brandon Herrera would get a stroke from this, but I don't know. I like the aesthetics. Like,
But
for
you know
me,
what? I got
yes.
that built a lot faster than an AK-50.
Shots fired.
What do you think
I
about?
love AKs.
What do you think about stock AKs? Like
I love them.
a stock AKM. So this is the improved AK pattern. They went milled guns at first, and then the AKM was a new variation. This is equivalent of M16A1 to A2 in the U.S. Or it's a significant design change that reduced the weight of the gun by a substantial amount. And modified a bunch of the parts. Some of the parts are reinforced to be a little bit stronger. You've got the thinner but ribbed top covers. To me, the AKM really it's a very mature design, and I think that shows in the fact that aside from changing calibers to 5.45, there hasn't been that much change in the AK platform since.
No, not at all.
I mean,
not at all.
the only thing, when you get to like AK-100s, they're just changes for manufacturing efficiency between different variations. It's not really anything done to improve the gun itself.
Well, there are small changes, but they do not make a big of a difference. For example, like I think this one still has a 45-degree
yes.
gas block. Usually now they have 90-degree ones. There are some small changes, but essentially this is why I made the video about the AK-12 and how it sucks. Well, it doesn't suck that much. It's an okay rifle, but it's not like a development. It's not improving on the AK-74 platform. It just gets you an option to mount optics directly on it. But from what we heard from the battlefield, those covers do not hold zero after a certain amount of rounds or rough handling. So,
I will say, with that red dot, it's not the most modern. It's one of the least modern red dots out there. But there are benefits to this. The side rail mount puts that thing extremely low. When I was zeroing it, this is actually just barely co-witnessed with my iron sights. If I look through the very bottom of that red dot, I can get an iron sight picture, which is something that you could never do with a railed top cover and then a mount and then some sort of optic. That side mount lets you keep that optic as low as it's physically possible to do.
Legit. Yeah. I kind of when we went in this video, I kind of wanted to shit on your rifle, but I kind of like it. It's okay.
1976 original manufacturer, Romania, Cugir. All right, and that's all we got. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I've got videos up on my 2 complete runs through Lynx Brutality, so I'll include links to those in the description text. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Big thanks to Źiga and Polenar for putting on Lynx Brutality, an absolutely fantastic 2-day brutality match here in Slovenia. If you have the chance to ever come, definitely do. It was a fantastic match.